This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, take it away.
My screen? Everybody seeing the screen okay?
No,
It says that you started sharing, but we don't see any video other than that.
it worked
All
for
right.
me.
Your first screen is your first slide is blank. That actually took me back
No,
to.
I started up. All right, let me
It
stop
was.
it.
We can see it now.
Okay, let me try it again.
It was working before. It just that the first slide is dark.
There you go. What's up?
Okay, you seeing that now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. All right, great. All right, this is a ham radio contesting presentation that I sat in a long time ago that was done by David Robbins, K1TTT. Really nice presentation back in the day. So I got a hold of this and then I modified it to make it even better, I believe. So who is W2DAN? Well, just give you a little bit about me. I was originally licensed as KF4QPP back in 16 April 1997 while I was in the Navy. Basically how I got started, I was assigned as a Mars operator on the ship, and I didn't have a ham radio license at the time. I came back from a 6-month deployment and then got my license. So I did it backwards because most people go out there and become the Mars with a ham radio license. Then, of course, shortly after that, I changed my call to W2DAN. I retired from the Navy after 22 years and moved back up here to Rhode Island in 2001. And then I became a member of the NCRC since July of 2014. I'm also a member of various other clubs. I take care of the 7-6 repeater group and the Fall River group. Also the co-founder of Ham Shack Hotline that started in 2018 that is still going very strong. Also, I'm one of the ops as one of the 13 colony special event, which I really enjoy every year being a retired Navy guy. And then I'm also a co-area manager for Rhode Island for the Yankee Clipper Contest Club, which I'm a member of, which is a really big contesting club for all of New England. At present, I am working for a Motorola shop, so I'm a poor sucker that gets paid to play radio all day. But I take care of a few repeaters in the area. I also installed our club repeater, which seems to be working very, very well. I'm always in there checking it, making sure on the air, make sure it sounds good. And in the spare time, I really enjoy contesting, and I wanted to share this presentation with you. So this weekend, I actually did really well in my New England QSO party. So I'll give you some of my numbers when I get to that. I'll give you a little outline here. What is contesting? I'll start with some of that, and then why contest? It's another good question. What is and isn't required to be a contester? Types of operators and contests that are out there. Components of the sport and lingo when you're contesting. So there's some special lingo that goes on. And what are the rules? Because every contest has its own set of rules. And how to make a QSO. And I'll get into some technical stuff and a little bit on hardware and preparation, techniques, logging, and strategy. Those are very key things when you're contesting. Resources, where to find more info. And then, of course, the good old thing, awards. And then I'll do a summary. So we can ask questions at the end there so we get through this. And then I have a list of links on the presentations too. So an amateur radio contest is an operating event held over a predicted, predefined time where the goal is to make as many contacts as you can in a short amount of time, basically. So just get in there and operate and just work them and get them in the log. And so you promptly get in there when the start time is and so on, and then just work it right up to the very end. Contests are a great way for adding wanted states and DX into your log for worked all states and DXCC award, to work towards those awards. Why contests? Because it's fun. It really is. I have a lot of fun with it. The excitement of the chase, trying to catch down and work those special, unique people that get on during these big contests. So a lot of times these islands that you're always out there chasing, all of a sudden become activated. Each contest is different and unique. Everyone is a little bit, so you gotta really look at the rules when you're looking at these contests. And why contest? The fulfillment of accomplishment of beating yourself and others. Like I was saying, I really did well on my last year. I did a score of 51,155. So I had 787 QSOs last year in the New England QSO party. This year I did 1,088 contacts, and my score went up to 82,688. And I had so I increased it. So that's one of the things I always try to do, is try to keep bettering myself. Reaching a goal, you can set some goals out there. Okay, I want to do 5 contests per month. I know Bob does that. Bob Beatty gets in there and does certain contests per month and stuff. Learning and improving capabilities of you and your station, which is pretty cool, because as you're building up your station, you find these little tricks that work. Other awards: worked all continents, DXCC, worked all zones, worked all states. Those are all possible in one weekend in one contest sometimes. IOTA, WPX, County Hunters have their own contests too. Helping amateur radio to use it or lose it. That's one of the big things that we get on the air. We're out there putting burning some holes in the atmosphere. So like I was saying, even though you may be just a little pup, you just have a little radio, a little setup, and you got a wire antenna out there, you can still have fun contests and compete with the big dogs out there. A little tougher, but you can still get in there and compete. And what's required? First thing is get on the air, make contacts, send proper exchange. That's by looking at the rules and making sure you're doing the right exchange. And then here's some of the big dogs out there. K3LR down there in Pennsylvania. What a station he has down there.
Oh my goodness.
And then Oscar Lima 7 Romeo, that's overseas there. Another nice big setup. Oh, here's this rinky-dink station over here in Tiverton. And then there's my setup here. So, and what's not required? Well, a superstation. Well, I kind of like my superstation. I think I do have a pretty good station, but it does help. Lots of small stations in a contest, mobiles in a state QSO party and VHF and UHF. So a lot of times we have some good VHF contesting that goes on up here. Mobiles and DX contests. You don't see many of that. Superstations required for operators, not required. Okay, log. Only one exception I know of where entrants do not get credit unless they other log is submitted. And I don't know what that exception is. But good to send a log to help keep checkers. So even though you're not out there, the best thing is even when you work in some rare DX and stuff like that, one of the good things I would say is, even though you're even just rag chewing, you're making contacts out there, I would highly recommend getting on LOTW. Submit your contacts to LOTW, even though you may not want to do it. One of the good things is these people on the other end, they're looking for Rhode Island. Rhode Island's a very rare. So maybe they're trying to get a contact through LOTW, try to get the worked all states, and then you didn't submit something and they worked you. They got to try to hunt for somebody else to work, so it's kind of a good thing to do, even if you can. Let sponsors know of activity. Get you in results, and you may win. You never know. I've been surprised in some of the contests I did that I get a pretty good score on some of them. What is not required are QSL cards. Cards are not required to be entered for contesting, but it's always good, nice to see when you work some of those rare DX that you put it in your log and then you send out you can send for those QSL cards. LOTW is good. Alternative, it's an alternative to cards, as I was saying a minute ago. ARRL, outgoing QSL, is a good bureau to use. Other mass QSL services. So there's nothing like that going on with contesting. Types of operators. Okay, you got your competitors. Myself, I consider myself a competitor. I really, I'm enthusiastic about it. I get in there. I strive to improve, study courses, plan, and I set up strategies of what I'm going to do, how I'm going to make, do better at the station. Take care of selecting equipment. That's a big key, antennas, that really help. Use techniques where appropriate. Even though you're out there, a lot of times I'll get on and I'll start calling CQ. I actually use a lot of the DX clusters, and I'm watching with N1MM. I can see when I see, oh, there's a red, it comes up in red. I need that for as a multiplier. So I'll use my techniques of switching over to him and working him real quick and come back and continue on calling CQ. So those some of the techniques you got to work on. Then there's casual operators. Just, everyone else, they're kind of just sitting there relaxing, chasing other awards other than contest awards. They can be chasing other ones. Just happen to turn the radio on. I just turned the radio on and I've worked somebody. What contest is this? And, so, hey, what's your call? What's your state? Okay, you're in the log. Thank you very much. Without casual operators, contests would be boring and for competitors, so we need those. Just handing out points. And there's a lot of people out there just do that just to hand out points. And sometimes convert to competitors, so that a lot of times that's happened. I'll sit there and see that. Contest haters, dang, another contest. So they'll go over to one of the other bands and not, I'll go over to 17 meters, because usually on 17 meters, there's no contesting. So standard answers, no work to all, like I was saying, there's no work bands. Change mode, usually one of the big modes per weekend. So a lot of times you get into contesting, it's either all sideband or it could be all CW or so on. And then there's some mixed ones. Change bands to one without no contest propagation. That's what they'll do. Types of contests that are there are a lot of them that are sponsored by magazines, CQ contests, organizations and clubs, New England QSO Party, and so on, and other club awards, ARRL, RAC, and so on, etc. Like I said, CQ magazine, clubs or other groups. And this is just kind of a graph that shows you a contest for all seasons. So you can see the ARRL field day, ARRL 10-meter contests, and as they go down through the year, the months, and then as you go out through all the way out, you'll see the sprints. Let me tell you, a sprint is a whole nother beast of a contest. That takes a little bit to get used to, especially on a sprint, because it's nothing worse than you work them and say, okay, great, your frequency, huh? What? Then they hand you the frequency, then you got to work somebody, and then you hand the frequency to somebody else. So those are a little bit tougher and to get a handle on. There's other types of contests just for any interest. Multiple band, HF, VHF, UHF. I like doing a lot of VHF contesting. I have my right side of my shack is all VHF contesting, and then my left side is all the HF contesting side. Single bands, 160, 10 meters, 10 gigahertz. Then there's the CW contest, sideband, RIDI, PSK. And they don't have an FT8 contest yet, but I think they're going to be coming out with one soon. And then, of course, there's by propagation EME. By local postal codes, county, states, provinces, island, a lot of QSO parties, state QSO parties. And New England ones, of course. And individuals or groups. Sometimes you'll have some get on there and they just, we're going to sponsor a contest for this weekend. And you'll see those come up once in a while. I've done a few of those. Even though I participated in the New England QSO party, one of the things I found is, because when you work in the New England QSO party, you also work in the 7 QSO parties going on the same time. I submitted my log through the New England. I was like, I submitted my log through the 7 QSO party one year. Next thing you know, I got like first place out of country, out of the outside, so you never know. Just submit a log. It was pretty cool. Types of continue on with other contests within contests. They'll have those. Team competition. And then there's the 5 groups of 5 single operator stations. That's one of the biggest ones that are out there, the big NAQP. That's a big team competition. You got to be a really, really, really serious operator to get onto that team. And then those are all from different countries and stuff. So those you got to try out for that stuff. Club competitions like I do with the YCCC. Various sized definitions for categories, large, medium, small. And then you got big rivalries between clubs like the YCCC and the PVARC. YCCC, we compete against another big clubs out there. So, and then local rivalries, me against some of the other people, I'll try to compete against them and try to better. World Radio Team. This is the one this is that one where you got to be able to only contest it with qualification criteria, runs in conjunction with the IARU World Competition. Last year, it did not happen, so it's now postponed until July 8th and 9th. That is one big contest. And only one or few on-site contests. And those are 2-person teams that get in there and do that. Get in a little bit about the game or sport. It's the lingo, rules, technical stuff, techniques, and strategy. So I'm going to touch in onto some stuff on there and some results and awards. So the lingo of the game is a QSO. Okay, a completed contact rate. That's one of the things is your QSO rate. When you're sitting in there as you're working a pile up. Okay, what's your QSO rate? You're working one right after another. So it's kind of keeping track of time, how many people you're working in that amount of time. NIL, not in log. Sometimes we'll say, hey, am I in the log? Am I not? Not in log. Unique, a call that is only shows up in one instance of the log. A bad call, a bust. Okay. As a bad call that comes in there, dupe. Yeah. Oh, we've already worked you. Okay. You're already in the log. All right. Continue on QRZ. So you just kind of keep going on to the next one. You try to eliminate your dupes because you don't want, usually a lot of times that'll hinder your score. And unban UBN report, which is your busted, not in log and so on. 10 minutes before you change bands. And some contests, some even get a little bit more. QCing, soliciting contacts by staying in a frequency and calling CQ. That's a lot of times what I'll do. And then the other way is search and pounce. That's where you're going out there and You're just sitting there scanning the VFO, looking for stations to work. Split. A lot of times, some of the big contesters will do split mode, so they'll transmit on one band and they'll listening to others on another band. Sometimes that'll happen with some of your overseas stations where a lot of us, even extras, can't go down into those bands and operate, but they can overseas, so they'll be listening up into the extra or general portion for us to work them. Cabrillo, that is, of course, how you submit your log. That's a text file that's submitted. SO2R, I haven't done any of that, but that's a pretty cool stuff. It's a single operator, 2 radios. So you got 2 radios set up, and you're basically just going back and forth, switching between the 2. And it's a pretty neat. A lot of the big stations all do that. That's how they really increase their numbers. Rules of the game. Okay, it's published by sponsors in the magazine. Short summaries in other magazines are good enough for casual ops. Competitors have to study the rules for the details. What is in the rules? Times, of course, when to start, when to end. And some spread over a multiple weekend, some depending on the contest you're doing. Usually specs, it's usually Greenwich Mean Time or Zulu time. So you have to kind of do your, okay, if I'm doing it at this, okay, it's Zulu time, I got to figure out when my start time is locally. Okay. Okay, what are the rules? Operators and radio classifications. So you have SO, which is a single operator, multi-station, MS. It's a multi-operator, one transmitter. Then you got a multi-2, which is you just have 2 transmitters with multi-operators. And then you have a multi-multi. So you have multi-operators and multi-stations. And so on. Then SOA or SO, A, which is single operator assisted. And that's a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do single operator assisted, because I'll use the DX cluster to help me find my multipliers and stuff to help as I'm working the contest. Power classifications, of course, you got high power, usually about 1500 watts. And I do that because I can. Or your country license. A lot of times over in Europe, they can only run like 400 watts. So over in England and stuff like that. So it's kind of surprising. Well, oh, they can only do 400 watts. Low power, which is 100 or 150, usually, or 200, depending on the contest. I believe VHF contests, you can do 200, but most of your HF contests are 100 watts and lower. QRP, it's a really low power, 5 watts is most common. I think 10 watts, 10 watts, I think, is also considered QRP. Band classifications, that's comes back to the SOAB, which is single operator all band. Single operator SB, which is I'm only going to work on one band. I'm only going to do the contest in 40 meters in a sense. It is awesome, possible to operate. And what's nice is sometimes when you're competing for awards, oh, I'm going to try doing it just a single operator, one band only this time, because you're competing against other people. Sometimes you concentrate on one band, you may get a first place award in that just by doing that, or better, or instead of trying to concentrate on multiple bands. Mode of classifications, which modes, many single modes, contests, many contests with separate weekends for each mode, some mixed. So a lot of times the CW sideband, I know the CQ worldwide, they have a CW contest, and they have a worldwide sideband contest the following week. And then, of course, in contests with multiple modes during the same time period, you can often pick up one in mode or mixed mode. So a lot of times, which is nice, even with like field day, you get more points for CW. Exchange, the requirement information to be sent between station and a contact. Okay, you can get into the competition competitor's log with the right information, because you got to make sure that you're passing your right information. Like this weekend, it was for Newport County. It's NEWRI. is what we were passing. It's spelled out in the rules, or ask the first station your contact. If you don't know, a lot of times I had a couple people do that. They'll contact, okay, yeah, they'll give me their information and they'll ask, what do you need from me? And I'll just say, I just need your state, you know. Multiple contests in a weekend can keep you guessing sometimes. So that's depending on which law, which contest you're in. Typically an exchange, okay, it's simple. It's RST, your signal, and then zone or state. Okay, and then sometimes they'll pass, you might need the grid square, FN 41, FN 42, and so on. Medium is name and state, or RST and power. Some of the contests will want your power. Serial, and then that gets really complicated when you got serial numbers. So a lot of times when you're going to work a contest that needs a serial, it's good to use a program like N1MM, or I think N3FJP will do it too. You want to set it up as a contest. That way they will automatically generate the next serial number for you. And the hard ones are the serial number, entry class, call, year, license, and section. That gets even more. You gotta pass all that information. It's like, what?
Yeah,
So you can write it down in front of you, so that way that you can tell it when you're doing it. And rotating exchanges. And that, like I was saying, the first time I got in to do that, one of the sprints, that was very, very confusing. So, but once I got the hang of it, I got good. So, and other multiple part combinations. What's in the rules? Of course, in the rules is your exchange quirk, serial number by band or station. Sometimes they'll change. When you go to a different band, the serial number might start all over again. So you got to kind of watch your rules for that. As Mystic exchanges, send RST, state, receive RST, state, and power. That really throws some stuff into there. Send RST, receive RST prefix. Receive different exchanges from different stations. Receive RST plus state from state, and RST plus serial number from DX. So you got to really read your rules to really make sure you understand what you're doing. So that way you log it properly. So when you submit your log, you get the appropriate points. Because they have people go through, a lot of times that's all checked by computers and stuff. And you don't want to get busted calls in your log, because your numbers, your QSO number will just start going down. Scoring points. Okay, constant or variable by band and mode, distance, country, and component, CW or RST or sideband, low band, of course, your HF, high bands, of course, your low bands, VHF, UHF, and so on, specific country and region, rest of world. You know, do you get points for the same station contacted on different bands and modes? A lot of times, yes. You know, a lot of times I'll work somebody and I'll get points for that. And thanks for a second band, you know, so you get another point. And sometimes that becomes a multiplier on that band if you didn't work somebody else in that state. So you could work somebody in Virginia on 20 meters, you get a point. You work them over on 40 and Virginia, you get another point. So it becomes another, so your score is multiplied by 2 now. What are the rules in scoring? 0 points contacts. Sometimes you need them. Listen for detected CQs, ask, check the rules. Some operators will log, others won't. So there's a bunch of people out there that don't do that. Multipliers, many types of grids, fields, counties, countries, state and provinces, as we did with the New England QSO party, county, island zones, some of the IOTAs and stuff. Do you get multipliers on each band? And as we just talked about that, yes. Scoring, total, usually sum of points, some of the multipliers. VHF, UHF rovers, sum totals by grids. Yeah, when you're doing the VHF contest, it's all about the grids, trying to work all the grids, especially in that, because you're mainly just going to kind of work in this area. But as you get on 6 meters, you pray for an opening when you're doing a VHF contest. Please, please, please. Can I get a 6 meter opening? And then it opens up, and next thing you know, oh, I just got down into Tennessee. Now I got and then all of a sudden, where'd they all go? There's nothing worse than that. You get them and then they're gone. And every once in a while, I've been on a contest. Well, one will come in and it's like a little teasing you. They're gone, and then there's nothing. Read the rules. A lot of time, let the computer do the work for you. That's a big key. So make sure you get your computer set up right. Make sure a lot of these like N1MM and N3, make sure you have the right log. Make sure you fill in your information that you're going to be a single op, high power. Make sure you fill out your information so that way there the computer does it right for you. Scoring, of course, the penalties are your busted calls, not in the log. Incorrect copy of the exchange. That'll kill you every time. Not for dupes, logging the dupes. I don't log dupes. I usually try not, I just, sorry, you're dupe, you're already in the log. Unique calls. That's sometimes some of the stations out there, they'll request a special call just for this event. So sometimes, if you ain't sure, still log them. Running past allowed time. They'll gig you on that too. If I'm going to get 2 more, I'm going to get 1 more, and it's already, that's where you got to make sure the time on your computer is set right too. That's always crucial when you're doing contests. Scoring, where to find scores. Real-time websites, Get Scores is another pretty good site to go there. 3830, I always submit my logs up to 3830 because I can see how well I did with everybody else. Claim scores from sponsors. A lot of times when you submit your log to their webpage, you can go in and look at their that you see the logs in there, and then sometimes they'll show how you compare to everybody. And then of course you got to wait for the final scores from the sponsors. It'll show up in a magazine or a website, and sometimes it'll just show up in the mail, which is always nice. How to make a QSO. Just give you a little thing here. This is them calling CQ contest. This is November 1 radio. Then you would go back Whiskey 2 Delta Alpha November. And then they would go Whiskey 2 Delta Alpha November, your 5-9 Mike Alpha. And then you would go back QSL 5-9 Mike Alpha, 5-9 Romeo India. And then they would go QSL November 1 radio contest. So they would go right back into calling contests. So, and then lather, rinse, and repeat. Key points when contesting is keep it short. No extra chit chat. Although I'm bad at that sometimes. I'll get in there and I'll run across the call. Oh, you're down in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Oh, hey, I was stationed there. I lived there for, so I sometimes do that, but it's always nice to get a little break in there. But when you're a serious contester, you don't do that. You just get in there and you really just keep going. Send your call once, maybe twice, just so you make sure that the person gets you in there. Remove, like, please copy. Don't say please copy. My number is, etc. Just give the information. If the station you call says your call correctly, then don't say it again. Just give them your information. Make sure you use proper phonetics, the basic ones. Some people make up some. Be careful on the ones you make up. Sometimes they're not appropriate. I've heard a lot of them out there that don't do that. CW, cut numbers can be ugly. Use the static data only. RIDI, not that different from CW, same thing. Don't use last two. Give complete calls. Usually try to get in there, give you a complete call. Don't say DAN. Just go in there, Whiskey 2 Delta Alpha November. Just go ahead and give you a full call in there, so that way they can pick it up. I know I like when they do that, because as I'm typing, I hear DAN, I type DAN. And then, it's whiskey. Now I got to hit backspace. I got to use the arrows to go back over and type into W2. And that takes a little extra time. So if they just give me the call the first time, the one call I hear out there, I just type it right in. I got them in the log. Radios, more buttons, not always better. Well, I got a lot of buttons on my radio, so I like it. You know, computer interface really helps. That's one of the big things when you're doing, is you definitely want to have cat control or whatever, because your log is collecting your data. So that way there, if you change bands, you don't have to go in and keep typing, oh, I changed bands and all that stuff. Let the computer do the work and from the radio. Filters. That's a big key when you're contesting. You want to use all these filters that you can get out there, especially if you're working as a multi-operator, you got other stations next to you. You want to make sure you have some filtering in so you're not bleeding over into the other radio and so on. So that really helps when you're doing that. My radio, I have all the roofing filters in it. It has 5 of them. And then I added another one in it too. So just to help. So when I get down in there and I'm working some of those things and I bring it right down and I get, because a lot of contests, the band is full. So you're in there and you want to kind of narrow yourself as much as you can to get in there and work people. Antennas, that's a big, more is better, I would say. Contests can never have many antennas to pick from. I have multiple, right, Nancy? I got a few out there on my tower. Size does matter. Big antennas high in the sky work better than small antennas near the ground. No work bands. Make selections a bit smaller anyway, you know. So basically, it's crucial that you have a really good antenna and it's set up right and it works well. Amps. I love running my amplifier. I got the Kenwood radio and I got the Kenwood amp. I ran 1500 watts this whole weekend out there. Although my wife doesn't like it when I see the electrical bill. That does, it does draw a lot of amps. So it does, you have to pay a little bit later on, but that really helps, especially when you're working pileups. More filters, especially if you have neighbors with cable or satellite TV stuff. So sometimes you have to put in some extra filters. But I really like using the amps. Accessories, headset. I use a boom headset when I'm doing mine and I got the foot switch, or I actually even have a Heil boom mic that sits on a boom that I'm using sometimes too. CW key and a voice keyer really helps. Saves your voice when you're contesting, or you just hit the F1 to send your call for you instead of you sitting there doing it. So a lot of the big contesters, they're doing it all via computer anyways. So they're sending and receiving all via F1, F2, and so on. A lot of times very rarely they're reaching down and doing the key, unless that QRZ, what was that? You know, antenna switches and rotors, very key when you want to start, if you're going to be switching from antennas and so on. And this just an elaborate antenna switch that some of the stations have out there. It's unbelievable. That's on a multi SO2R 2 stations. So there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions with 2 radios each. It's crazy. And then there's like a switch that I'll use here. I've got some on my wall here. And that's like the ones we use at field day. We'll just switch between antennas. Technical stuff, computers, from old DOS boxes to the latest Windows, even Linux. There is still software for all. So really figure out what you want to use for a computer and logging. It really is key to use. I use various different logs. I use N1MM. I use N3JP, FJP, whatever, N3FJP. I use other various logging software. Just it all depends on the contest that I'm doing. Computer interface. Make sure your radio is connected up to your computer, so you're pulling that information off there. I use rig blasters to help with keying and stuff. common homebrew items. Sometimes you got some homebrew keyers and so on. Sound cards are extremely flexible. So, and in a lot of course now they have some external sound cards that you can use too, which help. The best way to in constant technical stuff and propagation is the best way is to learn propagation, daily openings and closings, follow the sun. Okay. The gray line, sporadic E, aurora, flares, which we had this weekend, that big thing that happened out there. I'll say, even though that happened, the bands were bad, I still made a lot of contacts. I was happy. And skew pass. Learn to when to give up and when to change bands. That's one of the things. When you're sitting there just calling, okay, I don't hear anything more. Okay, let's change bands. And next thing you know, you start working more people. So you gotta kind of, you know, learn when to throw in the towel and go to the next band. Amazing how much big contest improves propagations. You never know. It's like the 6 meter band. It may be open right now, but nobody knows because everybody's like, nobody gets in there and starts really listening until people start calling. Oh, the band's open a lot of times. So unless you really follow the gray line and the sunspots and stuff. And down here is the it's a good source of the SWPC NOAA Gov. That'll give you a lot of the what's going on during the day. Perspiration, building and maintaining your station. Towers, get help, of course. Don't go up on the towers and, you know, thank God mine, I can crank it down and tilt it over and do all the work on the ground. So that makes it easier. Antenna availability to withstand ice, and wind, and the big factor for New England. That's one of the big things up here. Ergonomics, chair. Make sure you're in a good, comfortable chair when you're doing contesting. As well, you see when I come to do the field day, I bring that other chair that I got and I prop myself up with some extra cushions. I want to be nice and comfortable while I'm sitting in there operating. And then radio needs, make sure it's within reach, and so on. Rotors, make sure you got a good rotor on your antenna. It's nothing worse than being in the middle of a contest and then you can't change your antenna anymore. Now you can only work that. The worst part is you put it one way and then next thing you know, you're trying to work all this over here and you can't change your antenna now. So it's kind of good before you do contest, check all that stuff out. Make sure you do your due diligence before. And then of course, remove distractions like TV, kids, wife, husband, etc. Get them out of the room so you can concentrate on contesting. Heavy duty work. There's somebody up there doing some really big antennas up there. All right, learn your body, sleeping 90-minute cycles. That's one of the things is when you're doing some serious contesting, you want to figure out some good times and rest. Follow the sunspots. So especially if you're doing a 160 contest, there's nothing going on during the day. Sleep. So that way you can stay up all night and work, you know, because that's when the band is open for 160. Be aware of sugar crushes, carbs and protein, for instance, for endurance. Drink caffeine, yes or no, and when. It all depends. I drink a lot of coffee. I was a Navy chief, so I drink coffee all day long. Sugar, that's not a good, you know, you're gonna get those sugar highs. Dehydration and bathroom breaks, you know, so that's some of the smooth running. Listen to the type of the same, listen and type at the same time. Like what I'm saying is I use my log as my scratch paper. In the log is instead of writing it down on a piece of paper, then typing it into the computer. So you want to use your log, listen and type at the same time. That takes an act and it just takes practice. Using automatic keys and for voice and CW gives you more time to type and drink, etc. So you can sit there and take those drink breaks in between that while it's calling CQ for you. No extra delays, no dead air, because that will invite intruders to come in and is the frequency in use? Yes, it's in use. Get off my frequency. I've got it. You know, keep frequency occupied. And if they don't hear you, they won't work you. So just keep calling, keep calling. You know, that's the whole knack. And then don't keep changing pace while it's working. If things slow down, then try different variations on CQing. In short, no extra words, like I was saying, like I said before, only send call and exchange once. Send repeats once. Don't keep repeating. Okay. Some contests and all bands do need longer and more repetitive CQs and exchanges. So it depends on the contest. Simple. Remember the language barriers, because sometimes you're working a lot of European stations and stuff. Basic English, while many DX stations can handle numbers and phonetics, it's sometimes tough. I did the SP and getting some of their numbers on some of their stuff is a little tough sometimes. Standard phonetics, keep it standard. Keep the standard phonetics. Don't start making up some other ones sometimes. Another language, be careful. Using a phrase or two or another language may not get along with the conversation and reply. You know, so you got to be careful what you're saying out there. Just keep it brief. Keep it. Make the contact and move on to the next one. Logging, paper is still used, but not as fun. I really enjoy using my computers. It gives you the accurate time tracking mode for all your bands and changes on and off time. It helps when calculating that when you're starting, because a lot of the contests want to know how long did you operate for? So I have a piece of paper that I wrote down when I started, when I stopped, when I took a break, just so I can keep track of that. During the score, dumping the scores up into a real-time web page, and you can see how you're competing against other people, which I do. I like doing that, so I can see, and that kind of keeps me going, and I keep trying to do better. I try to keep working more, so that kind of helps you, keep going. TX from keyboard, which is nice by hitting F1 or F2, and you can do that, especially in CW. They'll do that a lot and ready. Take some practice in long direct to the computer. Rotor control, which is very helpful. So you can just sit there. I have rotor control on mine, so I can sit there, hit a button, and I just change the rotor. And while I'm doing that, I can still do it. I don't have to sit there and hold the rotor button to turn. And so on. Some sponsors only accept computer generated logs, so you got to be aware of that too. So make sure you use a log that will actually generate a Cabrillo report, which is the standard log that you submit. Frequency selection, be on the right band at the right time, which is key. High in band versus low. Sometimes, depending on where it's going, I like trying to get up into the general portion so I can work more people. I know when I was a general, I was like, oh, all these extras, they're down there. Come on up in the general portion so I can work you. So I'll try to stay up there in the general portion, and that way I'll get more people in my log. And then some contests have recommendations of frequencies too. So make sure in the rules, they'll say, we recommend you be here. And band maps and loggers can be a big help. And on my desk, I actually have it right underneath my keyboard. I have a band map and so on. So that way I make sure I'm where I'm at. I just double check, make sure I'm in the right band at the right section. I'm not down below or up where I shouldn't be. Points versus multipliers. You need both in most contests. So you want to keep working people, and then you want to try to work those multipliers, because that's going to increase your score. Balance results and high scores. How long to spend calling a multiplier. So sometimes you're sitting there, and I'll be sitting there calling CQ, and I'm going to go over to this thing. I'm going to keep calling. How many times I could be over here on a different frequency working people instead of keep calling this part and calling this. So you kind of go back calling your CQ and try it a little bit later. Go back over to there and try them later, and you never know, you might get through the next time. So you got to pick your times. when to run, and when to search and pounce. As I said, calling CQ all the time, which is a lot of times I want people to come to me. But again, as you do the contesting and you're using the DX clusters, if you do it right, you're going to set up and you're going to see all these points that you want to do. Those are the ones in red. So you try to work those. So if you do it right with N1MM, I can sit there and I'll just use the mouse and I'll click on them. It'll automatically change my radio over to the frequency, and I'll go in there, Whiskey 2 Delta Alpha Nova, Whiskey 2 Delta Alpha, you to 59, Roger, 73, Alt Q, CQ contest, CQ. I'm back on my calling frequency, calling CQ again. So it's as easy as that once you get it down. So it really helps, and your score just starts just multiplying. Like, it's really good. Dual VFOs are a big help when you're working some of the stuff. Sometimes you can sit there and listen to some of the other bands and see how well they're working. SO2R, I've never done it, but that's pretty cool when you can run two different bands. You can work them if you aren't transmitting. You can't work them if you're not transmitting. So you got to get out there and transmit. Many multipliers can call you, which is nice. So that's sometimes why it's good to stay there calling CQ. Let them come to you. Casual operators will call you, but may never call CQ. So just be aware of that. They won't get on a band and start. They'll be a search and pounces is usually what they do. Spotting networks. That's what I was saying. I use the spotting networks. They really help when you're doing some of the contesting. You see, and also it kind of helps you to see where most of the people are. What band is everybody on? Oh, why am I over here on 84 when everybody's up on 20? What am I doing? So you switch over to 20 and there we go. Now you start working people, so you got to it's nice when you use that. Using them can change your entry class. And like I was saying, it depends. It will change your entry class. You would be assisted instead of non-assisted. Sometimes it can be a distraction. I don't find it. I use it to my advantage. And like I was saying, it's nice to help find those multipliers. And it's good for new QSOs late in the contest too, especially when you're sitting out there and you're calling, and it's getting near the end. You start looking for those multipliers and it's like, oh, I need him. So you start working all the ones in red. Strategy, high rates. That's what I try to do is try to get my rate up, as a contester. I try to always better myself and I love pileups. I feed on pileups. I enjoy that. Follow the sun on a common way to plan your band selection, especially on 160 and 80 and stuff like that. You're not going to work on 80 during the middle of the day. So you're going to be trying to watch it and see when that's where the cluster comes in. Oh, I'm starting to see people on 80 now. So then you can plan to go down to 80 during that time. And then for a time limit contest, take breaks. Make sure you take breaks in between, get up, move around, and then sit back down. Because especially if you're doing a foot switch, if you're driven for a long time, you got to get up and stop and get out, and move around a little bit, and then get back in. Passing to other bands. That's what's nice when you're doing multis. You can sit there. If you got a multi-operator station, I'm sitting here on this one. Hey, we also have somebody over on this channel. So sorry about that. You send them over to the other frequency. You send them to the other operator, which is a nice new thing when you have multis. Computer logging, again, really helps. Not just for multi-op stations. Dual VFOs. Did I go already? I think I went through this one already. Yep. Awards. Well, I got a few awards. I got a binder here that it's the W2DAN station accomplishments. So I put everything in a binder and stuff. And of course I got a bunch of plaques and stuff too that I've got over the years. And I know Bruce has got a bunch on the wall behind him over there. That's awesome. That's very impressive. I'll get there one of these days. I'm trying. And then there's plaques, trophies, pins, plates. And sometimes you get a lobster dinner and wine. I forget which, there's a contest that does that, I think it's New England QSO Party. One of the awards is a lobster dinner. And then of course the personal satisfaction. I get a lot of satisfaction when I know I bettered my score from last year. Resources, Yankee Clipper Contest Club. I joined that to go there to learn a lot more about contesting. I'm in there rubbing elbows with these big guns. So it's kind of nice when I get in there and they're like, they actually give me kudos for what I did, you know. Web list of links at the end. I have a list of links at the end here. Email discussion lists. A lot of times you'll find some good information in there. I know on the YCCC, I always monitor the emails. There's some good information that's passed out there. Magazines, QST, NCJ, CQ magazines. I always get in there, like reading the contest, you know, everything that happened and the soaps that people write about what they did, how well they did, what was good and what was bad. And contesting is fun. I really enjoy it. It's more fun when you know what it's more and what it's about, you know, so that helps. So hopefully I helped you understand a little bit more about the contesting and how it can be more fun for you. Start small and work your way up. That's one of the big things. Just get in there, get on the air and start going. And all you can do is get better. You know, it really, I started small. And I like where I'm at today, and I wish I had more antennas. I wish I had more space. I wish, you know. So, and then I have a bunch of links in here. So this will be up on the webpage too. So there's a lot of stuff in here on ARRL contesting, national contest, NCJ. There's a lot of all these links to the YCCC. K1TTT technical note. He has a lot of good technical stuff up there. Results, real-time scores. I like using this contest online scores. So as I'm doing a contest, I set up N1MM to send that right up to the log. And I'm sitting there watching and I'm seeing how my competitors are doing. And this last weekend, I was like first. I stayed first in my band and that because I was just single band only. So it was great. I stayed right there as first. So that's always nice when that happens. Pre-submission claim scores. I use the 3830. A lot of contestants will do that. They'll submit their scores up there. It's a great place to go and look and see how everybody else. So then you can start seeing how you compared. Right now, I started out, I was like in the top 10. Then I think I dropped down to 11th in the New England QSO party. So as people keep drawing the scores and everything. So, but I think I'll do pretty good this year. I really do. I think I spent a lot more time this time. And then there's logging programs, of course, N1MM. I really like N1MM for doing my contesting. It's really easy to use. And the best part, it's free. CT, which is another good program. I haven't used that in a long time, but that was a DOS program, or they have it for Windows too. WriteLog is another one that are out there. N3FJP, TR log. I've never used that one. SD super duper free Windows and log wine. I've never used that one either. WinTest. I've played around with that a little bit, but I didn't like it. So it all depends on what your preferences is. So myself, I use N1MM and I use N3NJP for some of the stuff. Other software, there's also CW practice stuff, Morse Runner, DX Atlas, and K1TTT free software propagation telnet. So that's how you get into doing a lot of the extra telnets and DX cluster and stuff. Thanks for listening. This slide presentation, again, will be made on the NCRC website. Any questions, you can send me an email at w2dan@arrl.net. And most of all, I hope to work you in the next contest as I worked Nancy. That was great. That's it. Any questions?
Play a game and it went off.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave, this is Bruce. A couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, great
Oh,
job. Super good job explaining all this stuff. He put a lot of work into it. I can see
I know,
that.
it's a lot, there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
A couple of things. One thing you didn't mention is working DXCC in a weekend. I was able to do that last fall during the CQ Worldwide CW contest. I managed to work 114 countries during that weekend. So
Yes,
you can work DXCC in a weekend with 100 watts and some small antennas.
yes, you
Another
can.
one is the log checking reports. When you submit your logs to the bigger contests, CQ Magazine, ARRL, and some of the other ones, when it's all over and done with, they will send you a log checking report, and the log checking report will show what the median score reduction is. Say it was 10% or something, and in the mistakes and so on. And then it shows how you did. It'll actually
Yes.
show all the mistakes you made in copy and call signs, copy and exchange data. You're not in a log someplace, so it gives you an idea of what mistakes you made. It gives you an idea how well you did compared to everybody else. So that's another thing, is a log checking reports. And you mentioned about standing up and moving around.
Oh,
Very
yes.
important.
Very
One of the
important.
things, my chair I use for my radio station, the elevation in it broke a long time ago. But one of the things I do is I steal a pillow off the couch, just one of the little throw pillows off the couch, and I'll throw it in the seat and just set on that. It raises me up a couple of extra inches, puts my back in a little bit different position, puts my legs in a little bit different position, and I can keep on going. So little things like that helps a lot too. But great job, Dave. Really good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jay. You gotta unmute. You're muted. Jay, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, I've worked a couple of contests and done paper logs, and a couple of questions. Number one, do you have to put the whole frequency down, or can you just put the band down, or does it vary by contest?
It varies by contest, but usually all you need is just a band. You don't really need to have the frequency. A lot of times they just want to know what band, 20, 40, 15, 10 is basically what it is.
And of course, when you're doing that, if you put the whole frequency down and you're writing everything down, it gets pretty tiresome after a while. So I'm looking for a program to run on Mac OS that will track the receiver and automatically pick up the frequency and the time. And I can't seem to find anything that I can figure out will actually work. And I hate to spend the money before, and find out that it doesn't work. Is anybody aware of a logging program for Mac that really does the same thing as the good ones for the Windows programs?
I don't know anybody, any that does it because I don't have a Mac, but I know that I've run into people that have to run the computer in Wine and then load the program through there. So you would have to do it
Yeah.
that way. But then you have a challenge of making sure that your computer can see the radio. So it's got to kind of like do that serial port or USB to serial adapter.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar on that. So I know a lot of guys that do that have Apples that Macs that do that, and then they go out and buy a PC so they can run their contest station.
Yeah, that seems like, yeah,
That might be
the other
best
thing,
way to go.
I guess I could buy Parallels for $100 and then buy the logging program. But it seems like you still don't know whether it's going to work if you do it that way. I guess the best option is to get a Windows computer. Okay.
Well,
thank you.
N1MM is a free logging software that works, and it's free. So if you get a computer, I don't think it runs on Mac, but I think it's a free, good Windows machine, run on a Windows machine very well. And it has all the basic contests built right into it.
Hey, Dave,
Thanks very much, Dave.
Yep.
Dave, aren't we using AC log on the tough books?
No, I don't we use an
Oh,
N3 NJP.
Yeah,
We use N3 NJP for that,
Right.
when we do field day.
We used
Okay.
N1MM for field day CW last year.
Yeah, I think you guys did.
Yeah,
because
but
it
that
works
was
better
an
with the
exception
keys.
for CW.
Yeah, because you can do the F1, F2, and because that's
Yeah.
easy to set up for a CW.
Yep, that, I brought my computer up and I can bring it up again this year. So I was planning on doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to just jump in and share my response to Jay, and that is I don't have a Windows computer. And so I think that if you run into hurdles like that, it's easy to never get started, right? And I'm not going to buy a Windows machine. And so to do POTA, I ended up using an Android app to at least get going. And for the New England CUSA party, I just used paper and then I added it into my Android app. And now I'm in the process of, I just downloaded it as a Cabrillo file and now I have to figure out how to submit it. But I think the bigger thing is that in radio, it's simple to find a hurdle, right? There's a million reasons why you can't do something. So just, get started to the degree that you can and just even listen. And that's where to get started. So I just think you're going to get a lot of experience just by working around the hurdles you face. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I've had some good luck, with doing the paper logs, but it just gets tiresome after a while.
Trust me.
10-meter contest, 10-meter contest, and a couple of other contests that I did. I did okay for a couple of hours, but after that, I was,
Trust me, I'm there. So, but then that'll be motivating to do it, and you can sort of, is this something I want to do or not? So I just think that don't let those kinds of things completely stop you because you'll never get started.
But I think on most of the Macs, you can run Wine and then you can run those PC programs through there.
Yeah. You can.
What is it? Wine?
Yeah, you put the computer into wine mode. When you're on a Mac, you're always whining. I just
So it's a Windows emulator.
IT guy. I used to be an IT guy, and I never liked working on the Apple Mac machine, so I had to say that.
This is the only time I've ever not been happy being a Mac owner since 1982. Since 1982.
But I use a program called Wine, and then that'll allow you to load up Windows software into there. So it gives you a Windows instance.
How is that spelled?
WINE.
It stands for
WINE?
Windows. It stands
Yep.
for Windows
It's not
emulator.
okay. It's not like whining. It's like drinking.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't have
Dave,
much familiar with that, but I imagine it would work pretty well.
Dave,
Yes.
don't most of these logging programs have specific add-ons for each contest?
Yes.
Many
Well,
of them.
N1MM has got it all built in. So when you go into N1MM, all you do is go up into when you're doing a contest, you go up there and you say new, and then you go down and you find the contest that you want to work, like New England CQ Worldwide contest, CW contest, and so on. So you select your contest, and a lot of the web pages will tell you what to do for depending on the log you have. I know New England QSO party had a little thing in there. If you're running N1MM, it told you how to go in and set up your log. If you're working in New England or outside of New England. So it kind of had some of the most websites will tell you. N3NJP will have modules that you have to load in order to do that though, where N1MM has it all built in.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
You mentioned Logbook of the World many times and you also stuck in LOTW. Sometimes we get confused with these acronyms. I know that in contesting here, it was almost impossible to stop every time you had an acronym, but I thought you might mention people need to register for Logbook on the World. And just as a note, that's all.
Yeah. That's one of my big pet peeves is like, even though we got a lot of people out there that are just, they just rag chewers and they like working people. I think it's just a good thing that when they're going up on 10 meters, they're working people, they're working overseas. A lot of countries over there are using LOTW and they want to get credit for it. And that's why I was saying, even if you're not using it for yourself, at least, logging stuff, set up an account, just submit it. You don't have to worry about downloading it, but just at least get your log submitted up to them so it's real time so they can get credit. It only helps them. So that way you're being a good ham and helping other people.
And you
That's
might
what I was
discover
gonna
you
make.
win, you get an award.
That's right.
You never know. But you mentioned that there was a slide that you had at the end that showed some of the other software that was out there. There's two of them that I have. One of them is kind of a competition. It's called CW Freak, and I've made a lot of friends over internationally, and it's constantly a contest of copying call signs, and that's where I broke my record. Well, that and one called Rough CXP, which is done by the Germans. I got 64 words a minute on Rough CXP and 60 on as my top speed on CW Freak. CW Freak's done by the Japanese, and it's all online. No radio involved. But when it comes later on and you get into a contest, you've practiced, in a virtual world, and it helps in copying call signs for sure.
Yep. And I know in contesting, it helps to talk fast.
This is why I stay on CW.
Well, I don't know if you've heard me during
Yeah,
the contest.
it's great.
I get in. I love pileups. I don't know. I enjoy them. I'll just sit there and work one after another. That's why I love so much fun during the New England QSO party. And I love working 13 colonies because and of course my head grows because you're the loudest thing on the air. Thank you. So I just like getting people in the log, and I like that event. It's just one of those ones that it's not a contest, but I've actually, the first year I got in as an operator, I took first place for a high power, and I got a plaque for it. And then not last year, the year prior, I actually got the plaque. I got it again the second time. So I got high power, high operator for the state. So Little Rhode Island came in first place twice.
Yeah. I used to operate the New England QSO party from Ohio, and I think it was 2009. I came in second place in Ohio, but for me, it was trying to work people back here that I knew.
Yep.
And, yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned working pileups and how much fun that is, Dave. The WPX contest, the prefix contest, being NJ3, you have to rather unique prefix. In fact, there's very seldom any other NJ3 on the air. And
Yep.
I mean, I get pile up after pile up after pile. I'll be watching, one of the telenets or some other spotting one, and I'll see myself get spotted. Say, here they come. And I'll get 6, 8, 10 people calling me at the same time.
I'm going to stop the recording, but you can continue with the meeting.
By the way,
Yes. So Dave, since you were the 13 colonies, which I know is not a